Hello, listeners. This is Chris Frederick with StretchToWin.com, and I'm really excited to be here with one of my graduates, Level 3 graduate Meaghan Murphy, and a special guest of hers, a client of Meaghan's. Her name is Charlotte, Charlotte Samuels, I believe. And we're going to I'm just going to shoot right over to my guests here. And first, Meaghan, maybe introduce yourself, and then you can introduce Charlotte and talk about why we're doing this interview, about what FST has done for Charlotte.
Okay, great. Meaghan Murphy, Fascia Stretch Therapist, Level 3 Medical. I'm also a swim coach, which is how I met Charlotte many, many years ago at this point. And I'm a personal trainer on top of that. So when I first met Charlotte, she was 11.
Yeah.
A young little swimmer, and she swam under me for about 2-3 years. And then as things happened, she grew up, went on to other swimming teams, and we kind of reconnected last year because she started with me, started swimming open water swimming, and then we reconnected after she swam Catalina, the English Channel, and help me out here.
Oh, and around Manhattan.
Around the island of Manhattan. And so we were planning on swimming the New York Bight, which was an inaugural, it is a channel swim. It's the first time that someone swam from, where'd you start?
I was from Long Island to the Jersey Shore.
Long Island to the Jersey Shore. I'm very familiar with both. That's a long way.
Yeah.
And when we started working together again, she had bicep tendinitis in both shoulders. Her kick was not as effective as it could have been. And in general, her stroke, which worked for her at that point, she was mainly just swimming from her joints. Her muscles weren't doing too much. Like most really great swimmers, we are generally hypermobile.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlotte was having trouble actually accessing the proper muscles that you would want to create a swim for the long distance that she was going through. So she was starting to show some signs of injury. So FST, I brought in FST to kind of help undo some of the tightness that had developed within the pecs, the front, her anterior front, and also her psoas, which was inhibiting her glutes, and all of that. So that's how we got started.
Well, that's a great introduction, Meaghan. Thanks for that. Charlotte, let's hear from you. Can you just tell everybody who you are and how old you are? And related to the open water swimming, I'm sorry, I don't know all the terminology in your field, but if you can just describe you're sort of a 3-event champion of some sort. So if you can go into those details. Thanks. Go for it.
Yeah. My name is Charlotte Samuels. I'm 18 years old now. I was 16 years old when I swam the Triple Crown of Open Water Swimming, which is a combination of the Manhattan Island Marathon Swim, which is 28.5 miles around the island of Manhattan, across the Catalina Channel, which is like 21 miles, but it like becomes longer because of the currents and that kind of stuff. And then the English Channel, which is also 21 miles, but in my case, it wound up being around like 33 miles because of the same thing with the conditions and the currents. And after that, I've done the New York Bight swim, and I've also done some other swims like in the same types of waters. And yeah, like Meaghan was saying, I wasn't using my muscles effectively beforehand, and I was kind of being reliant on the way that I knew how to swim beforehand. And I'd done like some dryland training, but it wasn't really as useful to me as I'd like it to be and as it could have been.
Yeah, like the type of core training that a lot of people are doing on dry land. And
Yeah.
we're talking about the time leading up to your Triple Crown win.
Yeah, and just like all around that time before we started working together. And a lot of it, like, I'm sure it made me stronger, but it wasn't like I wasn't able to access it in the water.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And when related to your Triple Crown, I'm sorry, when did Meaghan come in?
I started with her right after the Triple Crown.
Right after she won the Triple Crown, right? Because that takes time to do 3 events, right?
Yeah, this was like the summer after my before my junior year of high school. So
you set a world record?
Yeah, I'm the youngest person to do all 3.
Well, thanks for leaving that out. That's
And
an
I also,
accomplishment. I understand that there was, did I get this right? Was there an 18-year-old guy that won it before you? And was it like a month or two before? And you
yeah,
just
well,
trashed it?
yeah, we did it in we did different order for the swims, but I've actually met him before, and he's a really nice kid.
Oh,
And he's really, really talented swimmer. So I'm sure he'll do a lot of other stuff. And he's lives in Australia, so he does a lot of swimming there. It's very different types of swimming, but
so you won the Triple Crown at 16. You broke the record at that time. And
yeah,
then in terms of leading up to seeing Meaghan, you're trying to do other events. Once you recovered from that, you wanted to keep swimming and do other
yeah,
events. And then at a certain point, you were having problems, and Meaghan came into the picture at some point.
yeah. Well, I was having some shoulder issues, and I also wanted to become stronger to be able to swim.
So was
More long.
your time slowed down, or you just had pain?
Well, I mean, I just wanted to become a better pool swimmer as well. Because I also swim competitively in the pool. And I also wanted to continue swimming marathon swims, and I was planning this New York Bight swim, which is the one from Long Island to the Jersey Shore. So Meaghan came in and helped me with that, and we also started doing strength training. So
She
that
did
was how.
coaching too, you said? Or were you doing swim
Yeah,
coaching along with that?
coaching, strength training, and FSD. So that was all happening at the same time.
Wow. So how'd that
Yeah,
work out?
it worked out well, and it's still going on now.
It's like what?
It's still going on right now.
Still going on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what kind of problems were you having in your?
I mean, I was just having a lot of pain in my shoulders, especially in the front of my shoulders and my pecs, and yeah, like we were saying about I
back.
wasn't accessing my lower back, and I wasn't really using my glutes or kicking at all.
So hold on a second. If you won the Triple Crown at record speed, you would think, okay, this girl knows what she's doing. She's swimming efficiently. She's using energy conservation when swimming, really lengthening that stroke and powering it at the same time. She's mastered it. What happened after the Triple Crown? Did things start breaking down, or did you
No, no,
grow?
no. I was always swimming the same way.
Her stroke has been pretty consistent since when she was younger.
Right.
Charlotte is, when you look at swimming, depending on the certain events, you have people who are designed more for open water.
Mm-hmm.
In the swimming world, as coaches, we refer to them as thoroughbreds and pace horses. You train a thoroughbred like a thoroughbred and a pace horse like a pace horse. Charlotte is very good at going forever, which is what made her so successful at 20-plus mile swims.
Right.
And her stroke is one that it does handle it pretty well. She's never been a great kicker. And so without having worked on that, being able to save your legs to keep them kind of powering you a little bit did actually assist her in the swims that she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
What was happening, though, being hypermobile, she was getting that long, nice stroke,
Mm-hmm.
but she was really just chopping the water, which works in open water because of the waves.
Right.
But her coming down and chopping it and
Right.
kind of across,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of putting the whole shoulder girdle forward.
Mm-hmm.
And most swimmers look like shrimps anyway. So it was just exacerbating that.
Uh-huh.
That's where she started to experience pain. She was also young, which is a wonderful thing. So she wasn't in as much pain as, say, someone as she gets older.
Right.
So she's 18. Our kind of focus is to correct what we can now so she can have a nice, long, healthy career going forward.
Mm-hmm. It's just amazing, even with some of those things going on when you won the Triple Crown. It happens that people can get away with stuff like that because they're talented in other ways that compensate. But after a while, things can start breaking down. That happens to all athletes. And it's a question of, do they do anything about it or not? And so it sounds like you're catching it in time when you're still young. And so it's worked out well, you said?
Yeah. And I'm training to do a 21-mile swim in the summer right
now.
now.
So Meaghan emailed me that FST has been a significant part of your recovery. Mm-hmm. Can you describe how that would be? Like, what did it do for you? The stretching the kind of stretching that's different maybe than stretching you've had in the past?
Yeah, so after I'll just like talk about the ones that I had in the past. After I did I'm not sure like which of the swims this is. I guess it wasn't after the English Channel, but after my first two of the Triple Crown swims, before I was working with Meaghan or with FST, I came home like from the swims and I got like a massage or something. Which was, I guess it was okay, and it was like the whole thing of like I guess I could get away with it. And I did this other swims like kind of immediately following each other.
Uh,
So my body was kind of just like under a lot of stress. But after the swim, like we knew I was gonna go right back to competitive swimming, and I wanted to be in like a good place for that. And so after my New York Bight swim, when Meaghan was with me on the boat and she saw like how I was swimming the whole time,
cool.
and she was able to like see me as a swim coach and as a trainer,
Mm-hmm.
and as like somebody who knew all about FST and like how I was gonna be recovering from it, especially like with how I swim. Like we did stretching recovery like right after, like the day after, um, and it was like my whole body and stuff, and that helped a lot. So
Maybe,
You
maybe
were
Megan, you could speak on that a little bit in terms of what her needs were. I think the other FST practitioners and other therapists and trainers would be interested in where did you see the input having the most benefit on her and when she needed it?
her recovery right after the swim. It was helpful just to keep her moving,
Mm-hmm.
just open everything back up. But
Mm-hmm.
even prior to that, when I started working with her, um, FST kind of helped her access muscles that she wasn't using.
Hmm.
When she would kick, it was primarily kind of, and it was actually fascinating for me to see how she was kind of generating her core strength wasn't firing. It was just her hips were being almost like they were being held together by the tight hip flexor complex and the front. Like it wasn't necessarily the muscles working,
Mm-hmm.
but just everything was kind of shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So leading up to the swim, we did a lot of work in terms of elongating the pec area, taking some pressure off of the bicep tendons, and just opening that up, and then immediately going into training to set that up. So there was a lot of work pre.
So I find that interesting because a lot of people do that dry land core training for all kinds of sports. The question is there really a transfer over into the sport when you do it? So you, especially with swimmers, you're doing dry land training and then you go in the water. Things are different,
Right.
dynamics are different. So the core training you said I'm sure helped, but it still wasn't
It
doing
wasn't
what it's
trans.
supposed to do. I find that fascinating that you actually got her core to activate properly. How just integrating the FST and then coaching with that she wasn't doing before, even though she did core strengthening. What was missing here that FST changed or opened up, maybe, if that's the answer?
Well, so what we did a couple of things is we went through the glute series, but also I used the fascial spreading along the psoas and opening up the hip flexor, kind of that elongating side line that we do, to first kind of call awareness to the tissue for the body. Before we would do that, we would do core exercises. She'd trigger her low back. It would be coming from almost her TFL. It was muscles that I was like, how you're activating that.
So even when you mean while you watched her while she was activating her core, other things were going on that shouldn't be going on.
Everything else was firing, but
That's
where
amazing.
we wanted to come from.
And this is a seasoned athlete.
Yeah, she's a seasoned athlete. But the thing about swimming is you're not getting that gravity, that same kind of impact on the body. So one of the things with swimmers is like swimmers shouldn't run because we have no posterior chain. That's kind of one thing that it's one of those jokes that fly around.
Yeah.
That's because never actually heel striking the ground.
Yeah.
So by using the glute series before we did any kind of leg work, you were able to open up that tissue so that the body could actually be like, oh, right, I have a butt. I should be able to do that. So that's what we did leading up to her swim, is kind of incorporating to call awareness to the tissue and then using the corrective exercises like dead bugs, half kneeling stances, kind of anti-rotation stuff to get things to fire.
Does it make sense, Charlotte, when Megan's talking about bringing awareness, does it make sense for me? Would it be correct for me to say that it changed how you actually could feel your body in terms of moving in the water? Did you feel your body differently than before, or is that even correct to say that, or is it another thing that was going on by bringing awareness?
yeah, I think like that definitely took more time, but eventually like in terms of like my lower body, like with kicking and stuff, I really like had a lot of trouble kicking, and I was like think about it, and it kind of just came like more naturally, and like I was kind of like using my lower body and like kicking from my glutes more, which I like didn't really do before, unless I like actively was like I need to kick, you know, and just sort of like started happening more.
You are kicking from your glutes a little bit more?
Yeah, and I used to like have to just think about it a lot. You know?
You don't want to kick from your glutes.
No,
You
you do. I
You
just
do.
like never really kicked that much before. Or if I did, I was like, oh, I need to kick, you know. It wasn't something that for me, even though I swim so much and even though it was for such long distances, I was just never really having a steady kick. And then
Right.
now it's steady kick, so.
Well, obviously, swimming is a little bit more upper body dominant, but you got a good kick will help take stress off the upper body, which helps conserve energy, and it helps take stress off the joints and other places to get off your tendons, so you don't get the tendinitis. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's many factors. It's technique. It's a bunch of things, but every little bit helps. So that's awesome. Wow. So, what's next? What's your next event?
One of the things before we get there, one of the things we're working on now with her kick, now that she's stronger and she has been able to access, she has a different body type now because she's been able to get stronger. So her stroke is actually evolving. We're working with, she swims now with the Bergen Barracudas under Nikki and Chris, her two on deck coaches now. And they're taking what she is now in terms of her body's ability and changing her stroke to better fit what she can do.
Awesome.
It's cool.
Well, listen, I'd love to talk more about this, but my landscaper is starting to cut grass outside. So it's probably a good time to end. But I really appreciate both you guys spending the time. And I think this is really adding a lot of material for FST practitioners that treat swimmers and work on swimmers, long distance, short distance. So any advice you'd like to give to those out there, Charlotte, who want to enter open water swimming events?
I guess just like building
Take care of your body, right?
Yeah. And like building a base in the pool, and like you don't always have to train outside. Like there's ways pools to do swims too, because a lot of people feel really limited by their like circumstances if they're not near a lake or the ocean to train in all the time. Like I live in New Jersey, and it's not really like too close.
Oh yeah, exactly.
A lot of
well, Meaghan, thanks very much for your inspiring work with Charlotte, and I wish you the best in future open water events.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to say, Meaghan? For those who are interested in working with swimmers, that's pretty cool that you're a coach too. That's kind of rare to find a therapist who's the coach. I used to do that with dance because I was a dancer, so I used to take them in the dance studio and actually partner them and do all kinds of things because I was one of them at one point.
Right. So with swimmers, the one thing you want to look at is what are they not getting in the water that they should be able to kind of integrate that would help the stroke. Think posterior chain. Think tight upper body that's pulling them into that kind of shrimpy looking ability. Most swimmers don't need more flexibility, but they need the ability to function. They're going to have they're going to have upper cross syndrome. They're going to have lower cross syndrome. They do need to maintain a little bit of that, but really just helping them correct their posture because that's going to make them faster in the water.
Right.
And then think activation. They don't have the same effect as gravity.
And I think what you said too, they're flexible enough, but at the same time you're using fascial stretch therapy.
Correct.
To help her activate things. And that's a foreign notion with a lot of therapists and even athletes. You're stretching me to make me stronger. You're stretching me to activate my core. People always think you have to stretch just to increase your range of motion, which, the swimmer may not need. But it's really to bring about balance, right? I mean, you can speak on this a little more, but about correcting the body, activating correct posture, standing, but also in the water you're talking about too, posture in the water, right? Because when I got coached in swimming, he was a 2001 collegiate champion in the triathlon. He did all three sports, but he coached me in swimming. For me, the takeaway for me was I got to swim around my core. I got to maintain the streamlined position moving my, kicking and moving my arms around a consistent, constant, streamlined position. That was the hardest thing to maintain. So I think using stretching to do all that is kind of a new concept for people out there.
Yeah.
So on that note, thanks very much for your time, for inspiring us. And Charlotte, I wish you the best in your next event.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, listeners. Again, Chris Frederick at www.stretchtowin.com. Till next time. Bye-bye.